Welcome back to How to Cake It. I'm Yolanda and this is our first episode of 2017, and what better way to start off the year than with cakes on a plane. Today I'm gonna make a beautiful piece of luggage out of cake. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and make sure to hit that notification bell. Orhan, show them how. Just like this, exactly. To make this luggage cake, I needed 24 pounds of my ultimate chocolate cake recipe, baked between 3 large rectangle pans. I've removed the cakes from their pans, I am leveling the top, and now I need to cut them in half horizontally to create 2 layers per cake. It's trickier to layer cakes that are this big because sometimes your knife can dig down into the center. Make sure to hold your knife as straight as you can and just slice carefully. I love when I'm making a cake that allows me to utilize my cake scraps. What you gonna do with all those humps? I took each one of my humps, in this case I had 3 humps, and I cut each one into a smaller rectangle that was 1/3 the size of each cake layer. Are you still with me? Then I level each one of those rectangles so that they're all the same height. Then I line them all up together, making sure they're the same size as one of my cake layers. And now, Sir Squeeze-A-Lot has a job ahead of him. I needed so much simple syrup to shower these cake layers that I had to refill Sir Squeeze. He was dehydrated. I dehydrated Sir Squeeze. If you want to learn more about Sir Squeeze-A-Lot and about how I use simple syrup, please check out the link in the description below. It is really helpful, especially with novelty cakes like this that take a long time to decorate. Right, Jeremy? Jeremy, how long? Yes. Long time. I've decided to fill this cake with white chocolate buttercream and regular chocolate buttercream, alternating between the cake layers. For my buttercream recipes, as well as all the details of how I made this cake, you can go to howtocakeit.com. I use the layer of cake that I've created from my humps as the top final layer of this luggage cake. I'm using a small serrated knife just to trim a little bit of cake off all 4 corners because I want my luggage or suitcase to look, I don't want it to look like a box. I want it to have sort of softened corners. Is it luggage or is it a suitcase? Guys, I need your help.
Yo, what are you doing?
It's time to crumb coat and chill. Once my cake is chilled, I ice it one more time as smooth as I can and chill it again. I find the bench scraper really helpful, especially with large rectangular cakes. It just helps you to get a straighter edge while icing. It's time for fondant, and I am covering this cake in a beautiful kind of like royal blue fondant. To learn how I arrived at this royal blue color using a bunch of fondant scraps and some blue food coloring, you can head to howtocakeit.com and read my blog. I begin by rolling out a piece of fondant that is big enough to cover the entire top surface of my cake. I pick up that fondant on a French rolling pin, drape it over the cake, and then I use a sharp paring knife to cut away the excess around the cake. I have to use departure in this interview. I am determined. Now I'm gonna cover the 2 longest sides of my cake by rolling out bands of fondant that are high enough and wide enough to cover them. Again, I use my sharp paring knife to cut away any excess from the top and the bottom of the luggage, and then trim a seam that will later be covered up on the corners. I'm going to repeat this method to cover the 2 shorter sides of my cake. have a bone to pick with you, Jocelyn.
Oh God, really? Shocking.
Why is it that Yolanda only gets to wear ugly hats in interviews? I could have had a cute little stewardess pillbox hat with a little scarf.
Yeah, no,
Oh
you're right.
no, I can be an elf, I can be a turkey, I can be a lit up turkey, I can have drumsticks on my head. But stewardess outfit, no, we don't need that. Why would we need that? To create the lid of this suitcase, which is kind of an old-fashioned suitcase, I roll some more strips of blue fondant and attach it to the cake on the sides halfway up. Remember, whenever you're gluing fondant to fondant, you just need a bit of water and a paintbrush. I cover 2 sides at a time once again, and I smooth the fondant up over the top edge of the cake. Now, before trimming this fondant to create the perfect lid, I'm going to chill my cake. This just ensures that when I cut, the fondant won't drag or droop. I use a mat board to guide me and to help me cut a perfectly straight line. Now I'm going to use some more rolled out blue fondant to cover the 4 corners of the luggage, covering up any seams that are still visible. I need to cover the seams on the top of this cake using white fondant. I decided to put it through my clay extruder to create like a kind of piping that will cover up where the lid meets the top of my cake. The clay extruder really allows me to make long tubes of fondant that are completely even. You know I need it to be perfect. The clay extruder is kind of like a ruler.
It actually is.
Time to use my overstitch wheel to create some stitch lines along this luggage. I add the stitch lines along the top of the lid, the bottom of the lid, and then the 4 corner pieces, just for some added details. It's amazing how this simple little tool can add so much detail and take a cake to the next level. It's one of my favorite things to use. I'm rolling out some white fondant to cut into bands that will go across this old-fashioned suitcase, kind of like a big belt that keeps it shut. And nobody will get my curling iron. Nobody. I cut my white fondant into equal strips, add stitch detail with my overstitch wheel once again, and then I just cut 2 tapered ends to the longest strips, kind of like the ends of a belt that go through the loop. Now I apply these strips to my cake, first applying the 2 shorter white strips to the front of the cake at an equal distance from the sides, and then the longer white strips all the way from the back of the cake up around the lid to meet the white strips at the front. I wanted to add some brown leather detail to this suitcase, so I rolled out some chocolate fondant nice and thin and cut 8 circles using a circle cutter. To make sure that these circles can drape over the corners of my luggage cake, I need to cut out a little slice of pie, essentially, from each one of them so that they'll fit perfectly. I carefully add the corner details to the 4 top corners of the cake, gluing them down with a little bit of water and ensuring that the cut seam I created from the pie slice is always in the same place on all 4 corners. To cover the bottom corners of my cake, I can't physically lift up this cake and drape the fondant under. So I need to cut these circles in half and mimic the same shape I created on the top 4 corners. A few more pieces of brown leather detail to add to the top of this cake. I just need to make sure that belt is keeping the suitcase closed. Now let's talk about the hardware on this cake, which really you have to make days before and let it dry. I made my hardware from some gum paste that I dyed a deep yellow, knowing that I would want to paint it gold later on. To paint this hardware, I first brushed on some vegetable shortening with a paintbrush onto all of the pieces, and then I actually mixed some gold luster dust with copper luster dust to get kind of like a rose gold, you know? I made some hinges for the back of the luggage, buckles of course for the belt, the tongue that goes through the belt. What else did I make here? Oh, studs. Oh yeah, because I'm a stud muffin. The grommets that, yeah, the grommets. Okay, hold on, stop laughing. I also took the opportunity to roll out some white gum paste, nice and thin, and cut out various shapes, because I think I want this old-fashioned luggage to have some stickers on it. Let's get this hardware onto the cake. This is the worst part, because now I have this beautiful blue and white and brown luggage, and I have to attach all of this hardware that is covered in luster dust. They call it dust for a reason, because it gets everywhere. It was really hard to pick up the white band of fondant that is the belt of the luggage and loop it through the belt buckle. There's a lot of potential for getting messy there. And when applying the grommets, you need to poke a hole first using a sculpting tool and then apply your grommets at equal distance from each other. So I carefully apply all of these pieces with a little bit of clear piping gel, placing them one at a time. You wish you had this luggage, Jocelyn.
I do.
You cannot borrow it, because I have seen how you pack. I have seen you fill and empty it.
I was reorganizing.
If you organize in the first place, there would be no need to reorganize. Oh, wait a minute, we're not ready for takeoff. How do I pick up this suitcase? There's handle thingies, but there's no handle. To make the handle, I used some more chocolate fondant. I did mix in some CMC to stiffen it a little. And then I just rolled a big tube and formed a handle, adding stitch detail, and cut it to the appropriate size. Now I'm gonna make the little ends of this handle, which attach the handle to the handle thingies. It's kind of hard to explain how I made these, so Orhan, footage, please. I need to add some stickers to my luggage, and of course I made one that says I heart cake, because I do. I think it's a fair statement about me. And the other says one lime. Jocelyn, you want to sing that song? One lime, one heart, let's get together and bake this cake. Bake it for your children. Jeremy doesn't know this song. You mean you haven't watched our key lime episode?
Jeremy, you're fired.
Out. Get out.
We told you have to watch every video twice.
Yeah.
At least.
Yes, daily. Last but not least, it's very important to label your luggage. You don't want to lose your curling iron and your luggage, so of course I made a How to Cake It luggage tag and added it to my luggage. Where are we going, Jocelyn? It's time for our departure.
Somewhere warm.
I used it! Thank you so much for watching How to Cake It. Please subscribe to this channel and please ring the notification bell. And if you are in the mood for cakes on a plane, check out my beach cake from last year around this time, especially if you're as cold as I am right now.